Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is April. I go by Ruby Rouge here on the YouTubes, and thank you so much for being here. You being here really means a lot to me, and by the way, thank you all so much for reaching out during my absence in the last week or two. We've had some really terrible weather in my part of the world, and it's causing a lot of problems and disruptions and just general malaise. Just generally kind of yuck, yeah. So first we had 2 ice storms, and now 2 weeks later we are flooding. We literally just got our water service back on Friday, and then by Saturday night we were flooding. Thankfully, well, we had water, but we had been under boil water, whatever. Thankfully, we have been able to get through it with only minor inconveniences at this point, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But many of my neighbors, you know, they're having harder times. They're being hit harder. They're going through bigger struggles than my particular household. And, you know, I just want to send a lot of good thoughts and prayers and vibes out to them. So if you have a minute just to send a good vibe out to the people who will be, you know, having to rebuild or clean up damage, or I've been through that before. Had a house burned down, and rebuilding is not a good thing. It's very hard, especially after like a traumatic sort of thing. Anyways, thank you guys. Anyways, so this is my update for Tiny Pans. This is a Painting Ladies collab. It's Painting Ladies' take on Pan That palette. After 2 months doing this project, I'm really, really happy with it so far. First off, let's talk about the obvious, and let's look at my palette. And that is new pan. I actually was not expecting to hit pan on this shade, and it was not my initial focus for the month. So I originally set out to focus on this shade here, but I'm super happy that I did hit some pan so early on in this project. Also, I did a tutorial look collab with Jen from Project Beauty on this palette last month. So if you haven't had a chance to check out that video, please do. Also check out her channel. It was really funny how we did the looks when I started watching her video, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to do the same look. And then she used like the second color, and I was like, we're going to do the same look. And I just kept thinking, and then finally we parted ways, and it was just really cool to see how we really gravitated towards some of the same shadows, but our looks came out really, really different. And that was just cool to see. I really appreciated that. So yeah, that was fun. Thank you, Jen, for inviting me to do that collab, by the way. She's been one of my favorite YouTube old timers, old OGs is what I'm trying to say, and I have a rumor outside. Okay. I did go ahead and do tally marks this time. I know I mentioned last time I don't know. But I thought that was a good way for me to kind of stay motivated. I did have 35 new marks, so that brings me to a total of 55 for the year. But basically every time I used a shade, I marked it. So I might get 3 marks in one look, if that makes sense. So it's not every time I touch this palette, it's every time I pick a shade. Okay, let's go across the top here. I actually only used this palette, or this shade, 3 more times to get pan on it. So honestly, it was really, really ready to go. I think when you see the up close versions of this, that you'll be able to see it's pretty deep pan, not really wide. So yeah, there's that. Shade 2, I used 6 more times. And then shade 3, I did 6 more times as well. This shade is really getting like this hard pan on it. I think that you can see it's really getting some funk. It's really easy for me to kind of scrape at it and just, you know, soften it up and get the color out, but it is just a little bit annoying. And I think that's one of the original reasons that I kind of gravitated towards this palette for my pick for Tiny Pans, is because I just saw that happening and I was like, is it getting old? Is it changing too much? I don't know what's going on there. Now we're moving on to shade 4. Shade 4 I did use 2 more times, and then shade 5 I used 2 more times. I don't think either one of these was really going to show much use. They have like slight dips You know, because I had used this palette quite a bit before this project. So shade 6, I used 3 more times, but I think this one is, I think they were like big uses, like big, like all over the crease. So I do actually think I can see a difference in this shade in the photos. Shade 7. This is the one that I had originally set gold to hit pan on, and I'm shocked that I didn't. I actually used it 5 times, and it was so close at the beginning of the month that I truly thought it would be like maybe 2 times. I mean, it is so deep in there. I know that you probably can't see that. It's kind of hard to see some things on camera, but it is so thin. And when it does hit pan, I think it's going to be like a super big pan, because this whole side of it is just like super thin, like this whole side over here. Shade 8, I used 5 times. I have quite a few of these kind of bone shades going in between all of my projects, and I always try to space out my usage on these throughout a Pan That palette, because I like to have it in the pan in case like I do want to go somewhere. It's just in there and I don't have to worry about having a shade like that available. It's something I always like to have on hand. So I try not to use them too fast, and dip into other like singles or other palettes or something when I'm using this at home. And then lastly, we have shade 9, and this is really such a strange shade. It's easier to use than I expected, but it's still a little intimidating. But yeah, I have managed to get some use out of it. Okay, so I did add a few more looks to my lookbook this month. I photographed 3, which really wasn't a lot, and I think I forgot to photograph the video look. I don't know, so I'll have to check into that. But I'm not sure that they will all make it. But I think for this Pan That palette and the lookbook, as far as it goes, I think I'll just do like a running lookbook. It really makes sense for me to do it that way, because really I'm just going to be doing a lot of the same looks throughout the year, seeing that there are only 9 shades in this palette and they're all kind of like pink. And you know, they're all kind of specific. Like there's one really light shade, and then there's one kind of really the darkest shade, and then the rest of them are all just kind of like, they're just really kind of specific. I also think that as the months go on, I'll start kind of branching out and adding in more looks with multiple palettes. I also might start getting a little more creative with just this palette and doing like maybe single eye looks, single shadow looks. But so I think what I'll do is, just as far as the lookbook goes, I'm just going to keep them in order and add the newer ones towards the end. And that way we can kind of watch the progression of how the looks with this palette changes throughout the year, because I do see this lasting for the majority of the year, probably the whole year. And lastly, can someone please tell me where to find decent, affordable, or free music to use? I have a few royalty-free tracks that I have access to and that I am allowed to use, but honestly, they are incredibly limited, and they're a little bit like, every time I use them, I'm like, oh, this is a stretch. I try to be resourceful on this channel simply because I don't make any money here, and I spend a lot of money here, you know, on makeup and video and just different things. So I do try to be really resourceful with what I do have, and I try not to overspend, but I would really like some new music. So if there's something that I can do that's free or affordable, even if it's like the same music everybody else uses, where are you guys getting your music from? I know there's a resource that I just haven't been able to find. Hopefully. Anyways, let me know in the comments, please. All right, and if you want to know the answer to that question as well, feel free to read the comments. So, all right, thank you all, and I will send you out with a lookbook and a resourceful music option for your viewing and listening pleasure, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!